There they go, the clown and the two thugs.
You heard it here first on Juice's podcast.
As much as I would love to listen to music while we do episodes and stuff, so it is I'll turn mine up just a smidge. So apparently, while you're listening, if you're on a podcast and if you want to listen to music on your podcast, you have to do like a commentary on the music you're listening to. So you have to like be one of those people that reviews a song and says like this song is about this and all this stuff. In order for you to listen to a song on your podcast, you have to like break it down and be an analyst of the song, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is.
But I didn't learn that because he has to do the same thing. Joe Rogan, whenever he has Jamie, his camera guy and his audio guy, they have to. It's cool how he does it. Excuse me. But he has to break it down while they're listening to the music. I think it's really cool. But it is officially. This is technically episode 4. This is the 5th episode I've recorded, but this is officially episode 4. I'm going to turn me up just a little more. So I've gotten a lot of feedback on doing introductions because I apparently haven't done many introductions before.
I got you.
Before the episodes start, and so I guess we'll start off with an introduction. Kade Pierce.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we've been friends since we were little kids, and newly married for how long has it been?
It was May 27th, 2023 is the day I'll never forget.
Yeah.
So,
man, that was an awesome day.
It was, and I'm glad I had you by my side as well.
It was freaking awesome.
So,
let's see if I can turn up this volume a little bit. Maybe it's just my ears, and that's what I'm doing. I was turning it down the whole time. Yeah. So newly married. I would argue that you're an entrepreneur in sorts, a researcher in sorts, and someone that's gotten to walk life at a very early age, I would say. But yeah, we've been friends since as long as I can remember, but
yes.
We didn't become close friends until I would say that we moved to Missouri. I feel like our relationship had grown. We had just grown a lot closer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I can't explain why or how, but our conversations just became more meaningful. Our hellos and goodbyes, I love yous, they grew more in meaning.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's weird because I really can't explain. There wasn't like that I can think of. There wasn't like a traumatic event that grew us close together. Of course, we've always been apart our whole lives. Of course, we'd come visit you, you'd come visit us.
Yep.
But I don't know, and I'm not complaining at all. But we somehow had grown closer together, and I really can't explain. Like I said, I can't explain how or why, but I'm very grateful for the friendship and brotherhood that we have now.
Of course.
And man, when I first got this thing started up, you're my first name on my list, and I've been dying to have you on since I had this in mind. And lots to talk about. And I know in recent months and since we saw each other last, I know we'll have a conversation, and then I'll be like, okay, we got to stop because we have to save it for the podcast.
Yes.
Yes. But man, I'm excited. I'm glad you're here, dude. And I think we'll have a good time, and I think you're gonna get a deer here eventually.
Of course.
And it's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, that's why they call it hunting, not killing. You know, you can see them 300 yards away, and it's not the same, you know. But yeah, it's always fun to come up here.
Yeah.
You know, from the drive from, you know, Georgia to Missouri, you pass through a handful of states, and you see different walks of life. You see different, you know, types of scenery to where it's, you know, going from the city to the country. You know, even the mountain ranges change from the Appalachian to whatever Tennessee's got going on with, you know, Kentucky,
Yeah.
Illinois. You pass through the little love handle of Illinois, and then you're straight into Missouri. So it's always a fun, you know, 12-hour car drive if you don't hit traffic.
Yeah.
So
Traffic's the problem. Usually it's what adds time to you.
yeah, it is.
But
it is.
I would rather, it's me personally, I would just fly. I don't mind flying too often, but I know for sure Mom and Thomas are not big fans of it. And I can understand why, but
Yes.
I feel like even because I feel like you would think about buying plane tickets and stuff, and then you're like, well, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's unfortunately that has reversed with gas prices and freaking getting snacks. And it's just, I think in the long run, in the short run, I think getting on a plane is a lot cheaper, a lot faster. And the only problem is you have to come pick me up in St. Louis or Atlanta, and that's not
It's not.
that's not very
yeah.
fun.
It's not fun, but I do agree. When we came up here for your birthday, I think it was your 21st birthday, we flew, and that was the first time I've ever flown before. And
Your first time?
yes, very first time. And if anybody who knows me, I hate heights. I am not a heights person.
Heights too.
You know, and we weren't born with feathers, so we weren't born to fly. So that's kind of my whole thing about it.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, it was the convenience of it was awesome.
Yeah.
The Atlanta airport was phenomenal. My first time through it, you know, everything that there was to do to eat. You know, if you had an hour layover, or if you even had, you know, a couple minutes between flights, whatever it may be, there was something to do.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, kind of got my mind off of, you're about to get in a tube full of people and you're about to take off, you know. But other than that,
20,000 feet in the air, 10,000
Yes.
feet in the air.
But
Yeah.
my beautiful wife actually gave me the window seat for my
There
very
you go.
first flight. So, and it was kind of weird because I had to wear a mask. So
Yeah.
that was the other downside to it.
That freaking sucked.
Oh, it did. It really did. And not just for, you know, all the health reasons for it. And I understand they wanted us to be safe, but in the end, the security reasons, the safety
yeah.
reasons behind it.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
you throw a ball cap on and sunglasses and you have a mask on. Nobody can tell who you really are.
Yeah.
And that's working in the field, you know, in the retail aspect of it, I did not like. I couldn't see, you know, you read facial expressions is kind of your intentions of what you're going to do. I did not like that because I could not pick up on what was going to happen, what your emotions were, or stuff like that. So that was kind of my, I don't like this idea kind of deal.
Yeah. Well, it even though we eventually after the shutdown, we eventually got to go back to work, go back to school in person, go eat at a restaurant.
Yeah.
It still took the face-to-face interaction away from people that I think that every human being needs, no matter if you think you do or not. I think you need that kind of interaction. I think you need that kind of that back and forth conversations. Just that small talk. I think it's good and it's healthy for everybody.
It's essential.
And that took just having a mask on. Though was thankful that we finally got over the lockdown part of that. But you're walking down the street and you may recognize a buddy you play basketball with or something walking into Walmart if they didn't have a mask on, and you don't get that interaction. And then on top of that, if you're meeting someone new, you're trying to network, blah, 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 and you don't even know what this person's face looks like.
Yeah.
And just the facial expressions, the emotions that come from those facial expressions were still missing.
Yep.
And that whole, and thinking back on it, before and after, pre-COVID lockdown and post-COVID lockdown is like a night and day difference.
It really is.
Just the way people interact with each other now, the way people deal with situations, and it is just a whole different ballgame now, and it sucks. And it's hurt the I was going to say economy. That's not the right word, but it's hurt the community in a big way. We've lost that that time we've had as a community to have face-to-face interactions, and people are still struggling to learn how to get that back.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's just weird and down straight to the definition. It's just weird, and I feel like I want to say that I'm back to normal, as if I were living in pre-lockdown, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I've picked up stuff that's kind of carried over from that whole lockdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just odd and weird, and it's not the same anymore, and I don't like it. It's harder to know the people you live with in a community. It's harder to know who you work with, and it's just not the same, and it's weird. And when you feel that way, you don't want to be a part of that community, and neither does anybody else.
You're exactly right, yeah.
And when you're in a community like that, then what kind of community is it anyway? And one that, unfortunately, is not united in just basic human being things, and then on top of that, you just don't feel a part of each other. You don't feel the need to help each other, help one another, talk about things in your local communities and stuff. And it's all just kind of got washed away. And now it's gotten to where the concern is still there, but I guess the call to contribute, the call to help in your community, because I feel like I think that's something that if you are a part of it, you contribute to it, like working wise and all this kind of stuff, is something you need to invest in, at least know and keep up with, recent news, like what's going on in your local community. And I think that's very essential, in more so than in the higher ups in government. I still feel like you still need to know that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
But what's going to hit first? And that's what's closest to you.
Yes.
So,
yes.
yeah.
Like what Dan said, and listening to that podcast, it dawned on me, when COVID kind of started in 2020, there were certain things that went through media and stuff like that I, of course, opinion-wise, did not agree with. and religious wise did not agree with. And it is, hence the word opinion. It's what my beliefs are. It's not meant to step on anybody's toes or anything like that. But what he was saying is the only thing that you can control at this point in time is where you live. And where you live is where your wife works, where your kids go to school. If your parents live there, those are the only things that you can control. And I believe that it only takes a handful of people to kind of get that snowball rolling. But people don't want to be the outliers nowadays.
Yeah.
People don't want to stick their necks out because of the cancel culture. You'll be called certain names that kind of ruin your reputation inside of that community. And I do understand. I understand, you don't want to lose the respect that you have, because it takes a lot nowadays to earn respect of others, especially where most community now are older generation.
Yeah.
It is very hard to earn older generation respect because they come from my opinion, they come from a harder time than we do. You hear the saying, I walked uphill, both ways when I was going to school. I believe it. Where I was born in such as Georgia is a very tight-knit community. There might be 1,000 people there. It might be even less now. I haven't really kept up with it.
Yeah.
But the same guys that were kind of doing the volunteer fire department were the same guys that were at the soup kitchen. The same guys that were running, this, and this. Everybody knew everybody's name.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, I go see family that still live there. People know me as my last name. I'm a Pierce. I will for always and forever be a Pierce. Everybody remembers who my aunt is, who my cousin is. They don't have a whole lot of problems.
Yeah.
And if it was anything to go bad, like during COVID, they didn't abide by anything that went on.
Yeah.
I went up there for a couple weeks here and there, just to see family. It was like nothing happened.
Yeah.
It was like nothing was touched. Nobody wore a mask. Nobody was worried. Everybody up there is friendly. Now you have your handful of people who are kind of snooty here and there.
Mm-hmm.
When is that not a case, But is it because it is such a smaller community, everybody knows everybody's name? Or is it because, me and so, our grandparents were, first cousins, or, everybody's kind of closely related to each other in a fact that you have a family get together and most of the county's there with you, when the graduating class that graduated the same year I did that I would have graduated with, there was 5. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And the county that the high school I graduated with had maybe, it's not a very big number, but like 600 or 700 of us. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
You go from knowing everybody's name, everybody's parents, to some kids walking across the stage, and I looked over at my buddy next to me like, I didn't even know he went here. It's a totally different environment, but it just takes more people to kind of unite that community.
Yeah.
Just because there's more people, you just need a couple more people to kind of stand up and, kind of pull everybody together.
Yeah. Yeah, and today it's hard. So let's say that we have a universal agreement just on whatever. Let's just say that we have a universal agreement that Corona is the best beer in the world. And I'm not saying it's the best beer in the world, but I'm just saying it for this example.
Gotcha.
Let's say you and I have a universal agreement that Corona is the best beer in the world. And then, on down the line, we figure out that my favorite whiskey is Proper 12 or something, and yours is Jim Beam or whatever. And that that one disagreement is something that is like a no-go. It's something you can't work with, I can't work with.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I can't be friends with you no more. We can't work together on anything. You're my enemy now,
Mm-hmm.
just on differences in opinions, differences on how we look on things.
Yeah.
And it is, unfortunately, we can't, it's hard not to say 100% of people are that way. And I hope I'm wrong when I say that. But it seems like the vast majority, when you have a universal idea or universal lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
way of life, there's always going to be some sort of conflict of
Yes,
how you think,
yes.
how they think, and what you might think on this situation, what they might think on this same situation. And then there's no more we're in this for the right reasons, we're doing this based on this, I still love you as a person because I still love you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not based on what you may think on this or who you vote on, or it's changed. And
It has.
I will say the vast majority of people can't go behind a certain way of life because of those things. You're a different, just anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad.
It is.
And
It is.
it's good. I feel like it's just like not wearing masks, not getting vaccinated, in trying to clean up as a country. I think a lot of people have the same support in those ideas than you would think, but it is you go to a different church than I do. And so we cannot collaborate, we cannot get along just based off of that, or something along those lines. And it's not just what church you go to, it's just any small thing.
Yeah.
And there's no more I can't think of the right word, but I don't know what it is, but
It's a lot of division.
yes. Yes.
Even
There's no more looking past that, though.
Yes.
There's no more. There's an end goal, and I will do anything it takes to get to that end goal.
Yeah.
No matter who you are and what you think, as long as you have the same goal as me, then we're good to go.
Yeah.
And we've lost that. And so anything that we want to fix, anything we want to approach, anything we want to bring up in a community or eventually, in your state or your country,
Mm-hmm.
is going to get a lot harder because you have
More
division.
Yep.
And the list would go on and on and on about why that stuff has come up.
Even crazy enough to think that, people like Nike more than Adidas. In the end, it's a shoe.
Yeah.
It's a shoe company, And me and you both, we love sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
And we both have 30 plus pairs of sneakers. You can only wear one pair a day. And I've seen your closet. You've seen mine. They're all the same to me, whether they have a check or they have, the stripes, whatever, I think people get it set in their mind that if you don't have the same religion, or if you don't have the same taste in music, or if you don't have the same this or that, we can't be friends due to whatever goals you have set in life. Whatever it may be, that person cannot be on your ride with you because it will change your course of path.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, it always makes you stronger. Getting multiple different points of view in life always builds you to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a great saying the other day. It's not about the journey, or it's not about the end goal, it's about the journey. And that really stuck with me, that I've learned as a 23-year-old kid I still call myself a kid
Yeah.
because I'm far from a man in my eyes. It's gonna be hard. It really is. You just gotta buckle down and keep going.
Yeah.
You know, and thankful to the men in my life, different walks of life, different kinds of, you know, in the way that their jobs entailed them to go, is whether it was the military or it was, you know, labor at a very young age, like our uncle, or a teacher, or this or that. They all had the same end goal, was to be a great man. That's you know, that was kind of their end goal, is I want to be a great father. I want to be a great husband. They all went through different kinds of adversity in life. And so I just have to take all that into consideration and realize it's going to be tough. It really is. That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, the diversity, man, it just seems like it's getting more and more and more crazier by the months that go on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you wear a vax. That's awesome.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yes. If you wear a mask, okay. You care about your health. That's awesome. If you did the other side, you didn't care, you know, wearing a mask or getting vaccinated. Awesome. That's good for you.
Yeah.
I don't have a certain opinion about certain people in the way that they believe. I'm going to tell you my opinion and my belief in the way that I believe it should be portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take that with a grain of salt. Same as when you tell me your life story. There might be certain things that I pick out that, you know, mean more to me than others. And I might apply that to my life. And that just might be the way it is. But
yeah,
we're all in this together. We're all in this floating rock with water on it. You know, nobody's getting off this rock any faster than anybody else. We're on the same schedule as everybody else. And I've noticed since probably the end of 2019, working in retail, people's patience have gone. That is the one thing that
out the window.
It is. In common sense. It's
Out
not
the window.
common anymore. And I'm not saying I'm the smartest and sharpest knife in the bunch, but, you know, you hear people say, you're book smart or you're street smart.
Yeah.
I don't see a whole lot of it either way, you know. And it worries me. It really does, because our younger generation is going to look at where we have gone in the last 3 years, and we look like a one-legged duck swimming in a circle.
Yep.
In my opinion, you learn history so you don't repeat it.
Yeah.
And we're getting rid of history
That's
faster than we're
literally
creating
what it's
it.
for.
Yes.
That's
right.
what it was
You're right.
made and written and translated by God Himself.
Yep.
To it, and you can look at any history book, and you can look at any country with their history book of their country and what happened throughout of their history, and it's not just history books. It's also with your everyday life too.
Yeah, you're right.
And
you're
you
right.
think of these things, you think of these consequences, these mistakes that you've gone through, and it's history. And the reason it's history is because to think back on it, and the next time that comes up, you might need to make a different
decision.
Yes. And maybe sometimes you made the right decision, you make that right decision again. And you're right, we're losing that.
We are
so fast. And it's on my first episode with Ken Shea. We had talked about 9/11. We were pretty close to that date, and so I kind of wanted to touch on it. And earlier, I want to say a few weeks before the date had come up, before the episode 2. Excuse me. I think I'd brought up, we were I think we were just talking on the subject as a family around the dinner table, and then Zayna Ryder, one of the two, had asked, what is 9/11? And I can say personally, and I can't say it's the same for everybody, but that was something that was brought up in school.
Yes.
That was something that was brought up by my parents, and maybe it was just a generation, but also that is also something that hasn't been brought up to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it; they're little kids, but we're talking about 11, 10 years old almost already.
Yeah.
And as far as history goes, that's not been a subject that's been brought up to school, not to my knowledge. You'll get veterans assemblies and stuff like that. That's probably the closest you'll get to real history.
Yeah.
And how many kids are paying attention in that, unfortunately.
It's a free way to get out of class.
Exactly.
Yes.
And nothing against them. They're kids. I was a kid too. I was probably doing the same thing they were doing.
Right there with
just without the tablets and the computers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But just a loss on stories, a loss on history,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not a lot of that anymore. And it's not discussed in the home. It's not discussed in school, like it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just not a lot going around. And when you don't have that going around, there's not a lot of lessons being learned as a country, as a community, and as a family, and as a person. There's not a lot of, if there's not a lot of history going around, a lot of history not being discussed, there's not a lot of lessons being learned, and not a lot of self-reflection. And
but
that's one of a million things that's going wrong with us today.
Yes. But that's how you learn your lesson.
Yeah.
You know, you touch a hot stove, you understand. When the stove's on, it's hot.
Yeah.
That's kind of how, you know, you disobey mom, you get a whooping.
Yeah.
You know, you disobey dad, you get a whooping. Like, you understand, I think, consequences in, you know, the learning aspect go hand in hand to a point. You jump off a 3-story building, you break both of your legs. You understand.
You probably shouldn't do that again.
Yeah. You know, that was kind of crazy to think of in the first place.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's hard, you know, how far do we have to go before we have to backtrack? You know, when we realize we've dug ourselves a bigger hole than we can get out of. You know, there's certain things in history that happen that I don't agree with. You know, when the country first started. Yes, I don't agree with the way things were built in this and that. I have no control over that. I'm sorry. I don't know what more I can do. You know, we've learned our consequence.
Yeah.
You know, we've learned our lesson. Don't let us forget that.
Yeah.
You know, you teach the younger generation because you're teaching your lawyers, your doctors, your historians, your politicians. You're teaching them what right and wrong is because of the sacrifices that generations before them have paid. You don't teach those things anymore. They're going to reoccur.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, you don't discipline your kid. The same consequences will never be held up to the same standard because they keep going and going and going, and there's no consequences for that. But that's a school issue.
Yeah.
That's you know, because it is too expensive for one parent to stay at home with the kids and teach them those certain things. That's another thing. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a whole nother topic. We can talk for hours on that one. But when World War I kind of happened, World War II, when the women went to work, that was kind of the whole snowball effect to that one. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to be, you know, the wife should be in the kitchen. The wife is the smartest one in the family that I believe. The man is the protector, the provider. The wife is who brings the consequences and, everything else to the children. Because in the brain, she's the smartest one. And I'll tell you that 1,000 times over. I can't count how many times my wife has had to, hey, this way will work better. And I'm like, the man thing of, oh, no, it won't. And I try it. And I will tell you, I have had told her more times than not, you're right. And that's okay. Because we're built differently, and so our minds think differently. I have a more I'm not going to say logical, but it's more of a, this is the way I think it's going to go. She has another outlook on it.
Yeah.
Because we are wired differently. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, she's probably right. Hey, you should use that instruction manual to put that together. Nah, it's fine. 20 minutes later, after breaking apart,
Yeah.
hey, I probably should have used the instruction manual to put that together. But, again, that goes back to your consequences. That's just... In my mom got to stay home with us.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to have that, to a point. And I think that changed me for the better. I think she instilled a lot more, a different side of thinking. My mom is very artistic, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get that whatsoever, but I got to see how somebody who doesn't have a 9-to-5, who has 3 boys that are under the age of 10, she kept us occupied very well. And I have to give it all to her. Things have to change before you get better.
Yeah.
And I think a whole lot of people don't like change. I'm one of those people. I have a set schedule.
Mm-hmm.
My schedule, I live by it every week, And there's some days, like this weekend, I drove 12 hours or 10 hours to Missouri. My schedule's all messed up. Even, to sleep schedule, whatever. That's just the way of life. You gotta, for you to get comfortable with certain things, I believe you have to get out there and do crazy things.
Yeah.
In listening to a lot of Joe Rogan recently, Sean Ryan, and if they happen to listen to this, kudos to them because they've done some crazy.
Yeah. Hey, Joe Rogan, you should be on the Juice with Jackson Bailey podcast.
Oh
by the way,
man, that'd be
cool.
freaking awesome. I just don't know if you can smoke weed in here, so I don't know how that one's gonna go down.
I'll tell you. Hey, if Joe Rogan could come to my podcast in my room, in my mom and dad's basement, I will for sure let you smoke a blunt in this basement. And you know what? That'd be the coolest freaking story to tell.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But isn't it, and as you were saying that, but isn't it weird that when we go through life, when we go to school, we go to work, and we do all these things just in everyday life, we go through all this stuff, and isn't it weird? So being comfortable in a place is probably not the best place for you to be. You're unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really thinking ahead. You're just comfortable.
Yeah.
And isn't it weird, though? I feel like a lot of people, and I will say me included, a lot of people work towards comfortable. They will work and they will try to figure out how to get to comfortable in work and in school. And I'm serious. As you were saying that, I had thought about that. And my school is literally, since day one, trying to figure out how to get comfortable in school, which is, you could say, is a good thing, but in other ways you could say is kind of a disadvantage as well.
Yeah.
Because you're comfortable in school and something unexpected comes up and you're all flustered now because you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's not just with school, it's with work and it's with just anything in your life that you come into contact with on a day-to-day basis.
Comfortability causes chaos at some point.
Yeah, amen.
And
that.
and when the chaos happens, if you get to a point that you're comfortable for so long, you don't know how to overcome that adversity, because you get to a mental state that causes you to, whether it be comfortability in school, work, home life, when chaos strikes, that's in that Darwin, if it can, it will go wrong.
Yeah.
What is that, Newton's law? I don't know. I can't
It's
remember.
one of them.
It's either or. And your brain just kind of shuts off and you don't know how to react. Just like when your adrenaline dumps. Everything just, it hits the fan.
Yeah, out the window.
It does. And so I'm not saying, you should cause chaos every day of your life. But don't get so comfortable in what you're doing at that point. Shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
If you take a certain route to work every day, try something different. Drive somewhere else. Get some new scenery. Brighten up your day. And I think you're leading into the comfortability. You have this, day in and day out of whatever it may be. I feel like it kind of causes depression. You see the same thing every single
gets
day.
old.
Yes, you're exactly right. And that's another topic that we could go into
Yeah.
forever is, mental health is a big thing that's taken a downward spiral, especially in our generation.
Mm-hmm.
You see it everywhere. And it's comfortability,
Yeah.
I think, to a point of I don't see anything new any day.
Yeah.
I don't go outside. I sit at home, play video games and this and watch TikTok and this and that. If you can, take your shirt off, go outside, get some sun.
Yeah.
If you can, go work out.
Yeah.
If you can, go run. And if you can't do those things, do 1% every day to get you to that point.
Yeah.
And I think setting life goals are not so much as being comfortable. Getting in a routine is not really being comfortable. Do things that you don't want to do. In my instance, I don't like heights. And I've contemplated going skydiving. And dude, it eats me up. It 1000% eats me up. And so at work, I'll climb on a ladder, and my knees are buckling all the way up the ladder. It's crazy. But I think you have to push yourself outside of that comfortability to learn more things.
I agree, but I am also scared of heights.
Yeah.
And I will never go skydiving.
Fair enough.
Unless you hand me a fat wad of cash, I will never go skydiving. And even Nesha's like, we should do a hot air balloon date. And I'm like, no, because there is a wooden wall between me and death.
Yeah.
And I cannot do that. And heights are not my thing either.
I hear you.
And I applaud you for contemplating.
I do. Some days I'm like, I take my own advice of get out of your comfortability zone. I'm also afraid of the dark. And that might sound kind of crazy and like, oh, he's a big what. But it's not necessarily of the dark. It's what's in the dark that I do not like.
Fair.
And, if you see me, I got about 2 flashlights on me at all times. That's just the way I roll. I don't like what's in the dark. I'm not scared of the dark, but I don't like what's in the dark. So that's
fair. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So I actually had been thinking about this, and I failed to bring this up to you prior to having you on. But it really amazes me your mindset on life. It amazes me your mindset on your day to day, how you think as a young married man now, and how you've been thinking of as a. I still would consider you a young man since you were 15, 16 years old,
Oh, thank you.
and possibly even younger than that. And just the way you carried yourself, the way you provided for your family, and I feel like at a young age you took a lot of weight on your shoulders, and you got a lot of knowledge, street knowledge, I would say, but it. I'm always interested in how a certain way of thinking has been brought up, and what has kind of inspired you to research, learn more of these things, and kind of what has inspired you to think in the way that you do. And because unfortunately, I'm not present enough to be with you on the day to day, and to be with you in those situations where you may you may have a new look on something, and kind of form your mindset on life and stuff like that. And I was thinking about it, and I wanted to bring it up because I really am interested in that side of your life, and the way you think and stuff. Because even just the tactical, your interest in the tactical realm, like it does. Maybe I'm wrong, but in my eyes, that just doesn't come from nothing. And so, just that kind of stuff. Could you possibly pinpoint where that interest, not just in tactical stuff, but just your mindset on your mindset on life, carrying yourself on day-to-day stuff? Could you pinpoint or give me an answer on?
Man, that's a great question.
And maybe start with tactical first, kind of ease into it.
Okay, yeah. I think, if I'm being 100% honest, it started because my parents got divorced. I don't know the exact year, but I started visiting y'all in Swansboro, I think it was, or Camp Lejeune, either or. And my interest of planes kind of kicked off. And so I always wanted to fly for the Air Force. That was kind of my in, I wanted to be respected to a certain point. I saw how your father was respected in his work. I wanted that. I wanted to have the respect of others like he had. And then I realized it's not about the work that you do, it's the type of man you are, the respect. And also the work and trustworthy that you have is where respect comes from.
Yeah, backing it up.
Yes. Dude, planes are awesome. Everything about them. Again, we're not made of feathers. We're not supposed to fly. And so they have these planes that go, Mach 10, that can fly across the world in hours. That was what I wanted to do. So, being at Camp Lejeune, in those couple of months that I would come up and visit y'all, seeing the formity of everybody. Everybody wore the same camis if you were in the same branch. Everybody was the same. Nobody was different in any way, shape, or form. And that's what I liked because, at a certain point, whenever my parents started to get a divorce, I felt like an outlier to a certain point. Their parents were picking them up from school together. I didn't have that anymore. So I didn't want to be an outlier, and that's where the military and the so-called tactical came from. It's just...
Do you think that sense of community in the military was kind of
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And being in the housing units with everybody, hanging out with, you know, if Miss Katrina ever hears this, she was a badass.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody loved your mom. Your mom loved everybody. They were in it for the same reason.
Yeah.
They're here for each other. It doesn't matter if your husband was on a deployment. We got your back.
Yeah.
That's what I liked. And nobody was an outlier because everybody went through the same exact thing. And then I realized I started to grow. And I got to like whatever, 6'1", 6'2". In my, I think it was my 10th or 11th grade year, we had, the branches come to the high school and they're trying to get you to join. And a Air Force recruiter was there. Right next to him was a Marine recruiter. This Air Force recruiter's 5'9", maybe a $150 soaking wet.
Yeah.
The Marine recruiter is about 6'2", has, he's got his officials on,
Yeah.
looks sharp. He is a stud. Chiseled jawline, the whole 9 yards. He looks like you want somebody in your corner when you're going. So I start talking to the Air Force. He's like, we have the jobs that you could do, but I can't guarantee that you will be able to fly a plane due to your height. That broke me real quick. So while this Air Force recruiter is looking at me, I take 3 steps to the right and I'm like, what's the next best thing?
Yeah.
I of course I didn't follow through of any of it, unfortunately. I probably should have, but that's a different topic for another day. But it just led into everybody's in it for the same reason, but you can go different ways and still get the same result.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at whatever platform you want to run in the weapons category, they can all be the exact same caliber, but they look totally different. They have totally different accessories, but they still have the same end goal.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And I love that. I like how diverse it can be, but also you have the same end goal in it all. And that little speck of light at the end of the tunnel is we have all the same end goal. I just stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so firearms have been a big part of my life, as you know. It's just, they're cool. They're toys.
Yeah.
They're tools. Some people like to collect tools for their cars. I collect tools in a different aspect. But having 2 younger siblings, and going back into your question, having 2 younger siblings, it wasn't apparent that I needed to have a form, not necessarily fatherhood, but my brothers live with me, 75% of the time. If I don't have my crap together at some point, then what do they have to look out for?
Yeah.
My father was still in the picture. I'm thankful for that. But if you don't live with him full time, you don't get that feeling of, you don't, the osmosis effect. It doesn't just come naturally. I had to figure out that real quick of, yes, you're not their father, but you're their older brother.
Yeah.
And so you're the next best thing. And so when your father is teaching you life lessons, he is training you to retake his spot in whatever it may be. I had to learn. It took a lot of learning. And again, goes back to, I'm thankful for, your father, my uncles. They were all great men.
Mm-hmm.
They all came from different backgrounds. They were all respected in their backgrounds. And that's where I figured respect is not about the path that you take. It is how you present yourself in that path. So whatever I do in my life, I want to have the most respect in respect's given as it is received.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the main thing that I, and a man's word also means a lot to me as well.
Yeah.
You can burn that bridge, dude. It's very hard to build it back. I can 100% guarantee. You lie to me once. There's no, it's on me. It's you screwed up.
Yeah.
And I hold a lot of people accountable for that. And I don't think a whole lot of people do that anymore.
Yeah.
And that's just where it all kind of started is you just, and also be the best you can be in whatever you do. That's what my father used to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's collecting stamps, be the best man you can be. In whatever you can do. And I feel like a lot of young men and even our age men can kind of grasp on that. It's hard being a man. I've learned it is. We're getting to the age we've understand it now. But at the end of the day, when you do right by others and you go home, it might not be a great day, but you didn't hurt others in any way, shape, or form. You feel good.
Yeah.
You feel good. Knowing that you were, not like a manly man, but you were a respectful man. It makes me sleep easy at night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to do because we are human, and that's what we were made.
Mm-hmm.
We are human. But the nights that I go home like that, man, I sleep very well, and it's awesome. It really is. I mean, even you had to deal with that. When your dad was on deployment, you took over a serious, very serious role that a whole lot of people don't understand. Is Dad's not here right now. You are the man.
Yeah.
If it goes to crap, you are the man.
Mm-hmm.
If your brothers get out of line, you have to show them that, hey, that's not the right way to do it, but this is the right way to do it. But not necessarily in the sibling aspect of fighting with them of, hey, next time, just clean up the toys or, clean your bathroom. It's not that hard. Mom's got a lot on her plate. It's a lot easier if you just do it versus arguing with her.
Yeah.
And I think coming from a sibling that way, it means a lot more versus coming from a complete stranger.
Yeah. And I can say that looking back on it now, of course, the earliest I can remember really trying to take responsibility for, in the best way I knew how. At the time, I'm only 10 years old at the time. And, to my brothers at the time, it's just, he's a bossy older brother.
Yes.
And,
you're right.
And again, I'm not saying it was right because I feel like looking back on it now, it was that arguing, that kind of nagging, kind of step in line kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would have changed over time had I been like 15 or whatever. But at the time, I was 10 years old and I was trying to do the best I could the way I knew how.
And your middle brother was 7, 8, close enough in age that.
And and we talked about it. Me and Dad talked about it, just processing that kind of stuff as young as I was, as young as some of these other kids are when their dads are away.
Mm-hmm.
And I still can't explain what that. I can explain what it's like on the outside, but I can't explain how our emotions were, how we felt about the situation, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But all I can say is at the time, as a 10-year-old, I was trying to handle the situation, trying to take the responsibility the best way I knew how as a 10-year-old.
Yes. And that's very hard to do.
And I think whether I did a good job or not, and that's kind of, I think that's kind of sad to say for a 10-year-old, but like I just tried to help out in any way.
Yeah.
Especially for Mom, she was in the same boat your mom was in.
Yeah.
Having 3 freaking
rambunctious boys.
Just trying to help her the best way I knew how as a 10-year-old. And I pray no kid has to go through that. And unfortunately, there are millions upon millions of kids that go through that every day.
But do you think, I'm not saying we turned out phenomenal.
It definitely made us in who we are today, and I'm
stronger person.
Very grateful for that.
Yes.
Am I thankful for the times we had to go through to get here? No.
Yeah.
Would I change it? No. And nor would I ask that a set of siblings, a set of kids be away from their parents, either or, mom or dad, for that period of time, or be separated in a household in any period of time.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of the sad reality of, recent years, recent decades.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of become the norm. And I'm very grateful that my parents are still together. And I'm very grateful for the person I am today, though I'm not perfect. And I try to become a better person every day.
Yes.
Again, very much not perfect.
Yes, you're exactly right.
It's just a journey. It's about the journey, like you were saying earlier. And man, the more we talk about this, like I want to do another episode before you leave, because I feel like there's so much we could talk about.
Dude, we definitely can do another episode.
Yeah. Man, and it really is. It's just awesome to have you here. It's a blast to have you here.
Dude, I love being here. I love being surrounded by the Baileys.
Yeah.
And if anybody listening to this understands what I'm talking about, it's like no other, because you get everything. You get the love from everybody. You get the laughter from everybody. You get the serious from everybody. And then you get Zane and Ryder, which are just a complete hoot in themselves. And, it's always a great time to be around.
Yeah.
Especially y'all. Like, if I could live here with y'all, move here, pick up me and my wife and move here, we would. But, that's a long way from her family and, my mom. And my mom loves me a whole lot. I'm her favorite. So if my siblings are listening to this, you're hearing it on the juice.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm mom's favorite. So just laying that out there.
Oh, man. Well, I'd love to have you on again tomorrow.
Let's do it.
I think we should do it tomorrow.
Let's do it.
And we'll
a couple
see.
more beers, and I'll be
Heck,
ready to talk again.
Yeah, I think we'll continue tomorrow. I think we've just had so much to talk about since we're not the closest in distance with each other.
Yeah.
The best we can do is a phone call a day, and you can only we're both pretty busy with life and stuff, and there's only so much you can fit into a phone call.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there's so many things that we are both dying to talk about with each other, and I think we should do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, awesome. And anybody that's listening, if you have family that's far away, I would tell you the best thing that lightens up my week on Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, however you start your week, shoot them a message. Just a simple text message.
Absolutely.
Hey, hope you're having a great week. Pray for this or this or this. You don't even have to say, I'm praying for you, whatever. I love you. You mean a lot to me.
Yeah. Just letting you know that, them know that you're there.
Because the harsh reality of it is tomorrow's never, it's never promised.
Yeah.
And I talk to people who lose significant others, whether it's wife, siblings, whatever it may be. I wish I would have told them I love them one more time.
Yeah.
That hits me harder than anything else.
Yeah.
And I have to catch myself as I get caught up in what we call this game of life. And I have to text my mother.
Yeah.
And I have to call her. And that's sad.
Yeah.
It really is. And some days I'm like, oh, shitty son. But the moment she gets that text message or the moment she gets that phone call, same thing with my father. I know it brightens up their day. And it makes me feel good. And I get the same feeling when I text you or I text your mom or dad. We're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
It does not matter what walk of life you go through. We're all in this together. If you be a little nicer to people, it might make you feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's another big lesson I've learned is just because that person was rude to you, just be nice.
Yeah.
If you're a jackwad to them and they're jackwad back to you, you go to bed thinking about that person of how angry they made you feel.
Yeah.
And it just kind of just sets you into that snowball effect of everybody's rude.
Yeah.
Everybody can be rude, but also everybody can be nice just as much as they can be rude. So, excuse me. Woo. That if I put my best foot forward and I'm nice to everybody, at the end of the day, I feel better about who I've impacted, or, you don't know what everybody's going through. You don't know what kind of day they've gone through.
Yeah.
And that opened me up real quick.
Yeah.
You don't know what he's going through or she's going through. So if you're nice to everybody, it just makes the world a better place. So.
Yeah. Well, I want to keep going, but it's about getting time for people getting ready for hunting stuff for tomorrow. But we're definitely going to have another episode for tomorrow.
Let's do it.
So
let's do it. We're going to talk about what we'll be talking about tomorrow. I think we're going something crazy. I don't know. I've been in those Sean Ryan podcasts lately.
Oh, I definitely want to discuss that stuff.
Yes.
So maybe I think with tomorrow.
Can we get Sean Ryan on here as well? is that
Mr.
possible?
Sean Ryan, sir, can you please come on the Juice with Jackson Bailey podcast show?
Oh, man.
I'll let you bring your complimentary. Excuse me. I'm not even gonna say the word.
Complimentary.
Yeah. That word. Bring your mushrooms. I want to try your mushrooms that you give all your podcast.
And
guests.
I want some of them gummy bears too.
Yeah, I want the gummy bears too.
Everybody loves them, and so.
Yeah, Sean Ryan, Joe Rogan, come on the Juice with Jackson Bailey podcast show. Would love to have you. You can smoke all the weed you want in here.
Shoot, yeah.
Let's wrap it up. We will be back on tomorrow, and I guess this will be part 2 of episode number 5, technically. But yeah, let's continue it tomorrow, and I think we'll have just as much fun, if not more fun, tomorrow when we're on.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's wrap it up, and we'll do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. Salud to de la familia.
Salud.